if you stay on these platforms, be aware that you will be monetized, because these are large, innovative technology companies, and they do need to make money in some way to keep these platforms alive.
WhatsApp has recently changed its terms of use, and this has implications for the privacy of its users. There's much consternation, but what are the facts? Joining us to discuss this is Nerushka Bowan, who's an IT lawyer and consultant. Nerushka, welcome to the CRA channel. Could you give us an understanding of what are the changes exactly that WhatsApp has implemented, and what are the implications of that?
So WhatsApp, of course, recently updated its terms, and it gave its user base of over 2 billion users an ultimatum to accept the updates to the privacy policy by the 8th of February 2021, or stop using the application. And what are some of those changes? Well, the biggest one that's really caused a lot of the hysteria is related to sharing of information with other companies within the Facebook group. So WhatsApp was acquired by Facebook back in 2014. Facebook also owns Instagram, which it acquired in 2012. And it's currently now making moves towards integrating a lot of its applications and services across the platforms, enhancing integration and data sharing. And that's really the main issue that's come up with this new privacy policy. And I think a lot of people, when they saw that and when they read some of the media hype around, this sharing, they thought that Facebook would have access to their personal, personal messages. There was something that talked about sharing of financial information, and it really got people quite stressed out. The actual messages you send on the WhatsApp application, it uses something called end-to-end encryption. And what that means is the only people who can unscramble or read those messages is the sender and the receiver. WhatsApp and Facebook themselves, if you read their terms and their policies, say that they themselves actually can't read what's in those messages. So I think that part is a little bit of unfounded hysteria. And then when it came to the financial information piece, there is in other jurisdictions, South Africa actually doesn't have this feature, but in some other jurisdictions there's a feature called WhatsApp Pay, where you can actually make in-app payments for various services from businesses and things like that. And that information that you're going to have with regards to WhatsApp Pay will be part of the information that would be shared within the Facebook group. There's also now an integration for businesses that allows them to respond to WhatsApps from Facebook. So it's helping them manage their customer services and things like that. So it's that move that Facebook is making, the integration of services that this privacy policy is really targeting.
So Nerushka, let's bring this home in terms of the implications for users in South Africa specifically, and the regulatory response from South African authorities. What has been the response there?
So, the another interesting thing is that there's actually two privacy policies. So if you're based within the EEA, the European Economic Area, you have a different privacy policy to accept compared to everybody else. You basically are not accepting the sharing of information within the Facebook group. So that has also caused some further concern as to why does everybody else have to accept this, but not people within the EEA. And the reasons for that, of course, stem from the privacy laws in Europe called the General Data Protection Regulation. Facebook has received fines and is in negotiations with various regulators in Europe regarding data sharing. There was also a case called the Schrems II case that invalidated transfers of information from Europe to the US. So I think all of that combined has made them hesitant to move forward with regards to data sharing of European data because of that. So they've not done it, and they've actually want to ask the regulators permission and get the regulators on board first. However, for the rest of the world, they have put it in the policy, and they want to start doing that data sharing sooner rather than later. Now, the thing is, data protection laws across the globe, including in South Africa, the Protection of Personal Information Act is largely modeled on European data law. So you can say that we have, a very similar standard of privacy protection as what European citizens have. Therefore, why, do they get a different privacy policy to us? And I think that's part of the reason why the South African information regulators now in discussions with Facebook South Africa, further investigating the differences between the two privacy policies to actually see, is it compliant with South African data protection law? Because, we need to know if these changes are compliant, and if not, hopefully the regulator tries and sorts that out directly with Facebook.
So Nerushka, you recently wrote an article, which we'll link to in the description below, where you indicated that users of these applications should go about protecting their personal information more proactively, that these issues are not unique to WhatsApp. How can individuals watching this video go about securing their personal information?
So exactly that. I think maybe WhatsApp raised some awareness to the data sharing practices that are done pretty much across various social media platforms. And, a lot of other social media platforms collect a lot more information about you if you actually compare it back to WhatsApp. So I think what people really need to understand is they need to be aware that when you're using free to use, very convenient, very innovative applications, if you're not paying for the use of those applications, you actually are paying. It's just not with money, you're paying with your information. And I think you just need to have that awareness going in. So you're going in eyes open. And if you're paying with your information, then you should not be sharing the information that you're not comfortable voluntarily sharing. Of course, there's a lot of information you don't have control over, like a lot of metadata around the content you share that is automatically collected. But there's also, what you post and what you voluntarily share, that is what you do have control over. So do be aware when you're using these applications, take your precautions. If you're really not comfortable with the thought of somebody monetizing your data for purposes of ads and things like that, you should then start moving yourself off these platforms. A lot of people say they're weaning themselves off free-to-use platforms, moving towards more privacy-centered applications, and perhaps paid applications instead. So, if you really are concerned, you should then start moving yourself away and educating yourself as to what the various options are. If you stay on these platforms, be aware that you will be monetized, because these are large, innovative technology companies, and they do need to make money in some way to keep these platforms alive.
Right, Nerushka, thank you very much. As they say, if something is free on the internet, then you are the product. Thanks very much for joining us and for sharing your insights. That's it from me, David Ansara. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Do share it on your social media platforms as well. And please let us know, what do you think in the comments section below? Are you weaning yourself off of social media? Do you think these privacy concerns are justified?